Dear all, I am glad to be able to say a few words today. These EU Globe initiatives reassure me that many still truly care for our planet. But we need everyone to come together to promote sustainability. This is a collective responsibility and one that we cannot leave for future generations. It is such a paradox that in our fight for a more sustainable world, we fall short in acknowledging that waste is a huge problem. On average, each European generates 5 tons of waste per annum. This is shocking. It is time to set limits. Both the European Parliament and the European Commission are dedicated to diminishing the harmful effects of waste. In 2020, the Commission adopted a Circular Economy Action Plan that will push for a circular economy and making sustainable products a norm across the EU. The Parliament has already begun work on new rules for packaging waste and eco-design for sustainable products. Soon, we will work on setting common rules to promote the repair of goods. These initiatives will not only improve the way we design, produce, consume and dispose of consumer goods, they will help preserve our finite resources. The European Union must own up to the consequences of consumer preference for abundance and affordability ahead of moderation and sustainability. We have a collective responsibility here. We must take action for things to change for the better over time. European consumers are in fact already making more informed choices. We are improving, but we need to do much more. Our actions must have a real impact and not just be part of some greenwashing operation. All consumers must play their part. Textiles is an area where there is huge waste, and that is why last March the Commission also presented a strategy for sustainable and circular textiles. So by 2030, all textile products placed on the EU market will be required to be long life, recyclable and produced in respect of workers' rights. Further laws will aim at banning the destruction of unsold goods and introduce incentives for consumers to make sustainable choices. Meanwhile, retailers will have to report to surveillance authorities on the working conditions in their production factories. There is huge work ahead to change the mindset of EU citizens, and that is why today's conversation is important and why we must start now. Thank you.
Many young Europeans like you look to the future and say, we need to change our ways. It is unacceptable that animals and plants are dying out. It is unacceptable that floods and droughts and fires and storms are becoming the norm, not the exception. It is unacceptable that we are not treating the planet and each other with more care. You are so right. The Earth Overshoot Day is an annual reminder of that. You are right to demand action. This is your future, after all. Just like you, the European Union is a project that looks to the future. A future that makes better use of our natural resources. That makes our economy more sustainable. And that brings us, once and for all, on the path to climate protection. That is why the very first initiative that the European Commission took when I became president in 2019 was the European Green Deal. The European Green Deal is big and bold and depends on all of us. We want Europe to become the world's first net zero continent by 2050. We cast this ambition into law. We are transforming our industry, the energy we use, our buildings, our transport. Every economic sector is going clean. We're leaving the throwaway culture behind and entering a circular economy that is based on innovation and creates jobs for the future generations. We're bringing nature back to our cities, and we're getting it done at record speed. During the pandemic in 2021, Europe's clean tech industry doubled its size and value. Last year, we doubled the additional deployment of renewable energies. For the first time ever, we produced more electricity from wind and solar than from gas. And this is just the beginning. The United Nations panel on climate change tells us we're running out of time. but also that change is still possible. And that is what the European Green Deal is all about. It is about restoring confidence in the future. But we can only succeed together. Each of us must act by setting the example with families and friends, by getting the skills needed for the workplace of the future, and by sharing your ideas with us. You can join the EU Climate Pact and work with other Europeans on climate solutions, because it is about moving forward together as a society, as a community, and as a family of Europeans. The European Union listens to you because it's your union and your future. Thank you.
Hello everybody. Earth Overshoot Day is a concrete reminder that we cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. All EU countries are among those with the earliest Overshoot Day. We don't have a plan B because we don't have a planet B. We need to fix what we have. Most of all, we need to fix our broken way of extracting, producing, and consuming. And it's also a matter of justice between countries and between generations. The triple crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution is the defining challenge of our time. The root cause is our overconsumption of natural resources to make the products we use in our everyday life. The EU imports a lion's share of critical raw materials and other metal minerals, such as aluminium. Most of our textiles are produced outside Europe and made of virgin materials. Our consumption has more than tripled since 1970, and it continues to grow. So if we want to push back Overshoot Day, we need to change the way we produce and consume. We can do this together, step by step, as we transition to a circular economy. At the EU level, our policies are built around the European Green Deal. It's our roadmap to speed up the transition to a climate-neutral, nature-positive, and circular economy. A circular economy means rethinking design, production and consumption, increasing resource efficiency, lowering energy intensity, and cutting both waste and pollution. It's good business sense if we apply circularity principles across the EU. We boost GDP and create local jobs. Let me mention a couple of concrete measures under our Circular Economy Action Plan. With the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, we want to make sure that by 2030, all products placed on the EU market last longer and can be repaired and reused and recycled. We as consumers play a big role in this by repairing and reusing our clothes, phones, bicycles, and other products. All products will have digital product passports. These will provide information on materials, repairability, and recyclability. We are also tackling greenwashing. The new rules will empower citizens to make more sustainable choices and support front-runner companies. All this will open the door to new business models that prioritize services over products and repair, reuse, and sharing over single use and disposal. This will, of course, create the need for new skills and have implications for the European labor market. This is especially important as 2023 is the European Year of Skills. We have a strong mandate from the European citizens, but building a new economic model is not easy. We will only succeed if the green transition is fair. This is about who pays the costs of the transition. In the EU, the top 10% of polluters account for almost 30% of the total EU carbon footprint. Globally, the top 1% accounts for 16% of the global greenhouse emissions. Polluters have to pay. But this is also about acknowledging that the poor are hit the hardest by environmental degradation and climate change. They are more likely to live in areas with poorer air quality, less likely to have access to green areas, and are generally more vulnerable. There will be no green transition without social justice within Europe and globally. Future generations will suffer the consequences of our negligence and inaction. So intergenerational justice must also guide our actions today and tomorrow. Young people around the world are taking to the streets to demand action against climate change and to seek climate and environmental justice. Citizens are using the law to fight against the environmental violations of current and future generations' rights. Young people are also actively shaping EU policies as part of the Conference on the Future of Europe. We all have the responsibility to move the Earth Overshoot Day, and we can do it together. From our end, we are changing EU laws as needed, in line with the course defined by the Green Deal. But you can play your part too. Cut down on single-use items, source sustainably, consume less. Because it's up to each and every one of us to make a change.